pulled from the lake.
We heard in midday that she was out, and but we kept that back from Marilyn for a little while to use when it was, absolutely necessary.
6 hours into the swim, Marilyn is having troubles of her own.
And then just before daybreak, I guess was my low moment, before the dawn, when I had an ache and, cramps in my stomach, and I was cold and I was tired, and I had been without sleep I hadn't slept since the evening of the 7th, I guess.
Well, when you looked at her, as I say, I had no experience in marathon swimming. When you looked at her, her face was puffy, her eyes were closing, her lips were swollen, she was blue.
Meanwhile, Winnie Roach-Lusler is also in trouble. Eventually, she is pulled from the water, too, leaving Marilyn the only one left in the game. And as a result, on the other side of the lake, a city is going wild, hungry for a hero. They've invested all their hopes in Marilyn.
Probably the thing that made her an icon was the fact that she wasn't an American. She was, in fact, one of ours. And she was only 16.
She was on the radio all day. And then towards the end, everybody had it. And every newspaper in town clamored.
The headlines follow her progress, and radio reports keep the public in the know. Hourly reports give every detail. Crowds begin to gather on the lake shore. Traffic is stopped. Everyone is holding their breath. But on the lake, Marilyn is flagging, and reporter George Bryant is getting worried.
She had more stamina than it appeared. But I was never fully convinced because it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse as the city went on. And the shore was so far away. The shore was so far away. It never got any bigger. It was interminable.
There were a lot of people that said, Gus, they're going to kill that kid. I mean, it's not as if everybody glued to their radios. They're certainly pulling for her, but we're also concerned about her life. This is tantamount to cruelty to animals. I mean, you wouldn't do this with a dog or a cat. Why would you do this with a kid?
Gus and I were always a team, and that was, there was no question about that. But by then, I think I must have realized that the people on the boat cared as much as I did. And we were all caring together and had this common purpose.
4 miles from shore and almost 15 hours into the swim, Marilyn is getting weaker. And even though she's not a quitter, it's not at all certain Marilyn will make it. Gus writes on the chalkboard, telling Marilyn that thousands of people are pulling for her on the shore. Bryant speaks softly to her, trying to encourage her to move forward.
Come, sweetheart, just a little over this way. Come to me. Just try to move to the right. Just a little more. A little more. That's just right there. Simple things as if you're talking to a baby, or because she was way, her brain wasn't functioning, her body was mechanical.
Water temperature has dropped to 51 degrees. Soon she isn't moving at all. 4:40 p.m. More than 15 hours into the swim, Marilyn's friend Joan Cook is brought in to help.
I remember a splash, and then I remember this head rising out of the water, and it was Joan, and I remember looking, what are you doing in the lake? And she said, come on, let's swim.
Dusk gives way to complete darkness. Marilyn has been swimming for more than 20 hours. She's within reach of finishing. Soon her team can see the shoreline, but they can't believe their eyes.
We could see these moving dark spaces along the shore and seemed to be moving back and forth. And I picked up binoculars and said, my God, there are people. And all of a sudden, when darkness came on, all those cars, they had abandoned them on the lake shore. No traffic moved. they turned the lights on. And to see all these car lights beaming out.
Radio announcers ask motorists on Lakeshore Boulevard to point their car headlights at the water to give Marilyn something to aim for. As she moves closer to the Toronto Lakeshore, the Toronto Telegram wakes up.
And suddenly we realized that we had not been paying attention to this swim. Suddenly realized that this girl, our girl, as opposed to the American, might very well make it, and we had a hell of a story.
The telegram sort of came into it like a little carnivore that come when the lions make the kill. They sort of swarmed around after the thing happened. But during it, no, they can give them nothing wrong.
Now the Telegram has as many reporters on the scene as the Star. But before they can get the story, Marilyn needs to get out of the water, which could be a problem.
I had never seen anything like this. First of all, not only the numbers, but the noise and the, as I say, this fact that they're trying to jump in the water with their clothes on to touch her. And they're having to beat them off with oars.
At 8:15 p.m., 20 hours and 55 minutes after she began the race, Marilyn has finally touched the break wall. She has made history by zigzagging an estimated 40 miles across Lake Ontario.
I remember being terribly confused and people, strangers, reaching out for me and trying to grab me and boats around me and not seeing Josh or Joan or my own boat, with all my people in it. And recognizing some people, but not my team.
Finally, Marilyn is pulled safely from the water and into the boat.
Thank God. Yes, thank God. I wasn't wound up about her winning the swim. I was wound up in she was safe. Finally, she was out of that bloody water.
The Star has made arrangements to have an ambulance waiting to whisk Marilyn off to the Royal York Hotel. What the Star doesn't know is that the Telegram has the same plan.
Unfortunately, there were 3 ambulances at least there, and I had no idea which was the Star ambulance. And Dorothy Howarth was a Telegram, and she always denies it, but I'm sure she was in a nurse's uniform and speaking to the police or whoever was carrying the stretcher, over here. Well, Fred McClelland of the Star had got to the front of that ambulance and taken away to the stupid cat so it couldn't run. And he said, not there. Here's the Star ambulance here. And when we got to Royal York, we went out to the back to the elevator. Oh my God, there was a Telegram reporter in that. And I sort of pushed him out. And we closed the door and got Marilyn.
Marilyn is checked out by the doctor, who proclaims her amazingly healthy. And exhausted, she finally goes to sleep. But in the Telegram newsroom, they're scrambling to catch up. They've lost the ambulance battle, but they aren't about to lose the war. The reporters have been told to capture every word about the swim that they'd heard when Marilyn came out of the water. Now they are feeding all the information to reporter Dorothy Howard, who has been instructed by managing editor Doug McFarlane to write it in the first person.
In Dorothy, she was going to write it as not as I told to, but as Marilyn Bell's own story. Doug realized he needed to buy on he couldn't put his ethics were a little dubious, but he decided he couldn't put by Marilyn Bell when in fact it was not. But what he did was to send a reporter out to Loretta College and got the yearbook from with her signature. Beautiful, copper-type signature, Marilyn Bell. Right in front. That's the fact. Photographed